And hello, 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 and welcome to our Techspressionist virtual salon. Today is kind of an interesting day. It's February 2nd of 2022. So it's 2/2/22, which isn't probably going to happen again for a very, 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 very long time. Not while any of us are alive anyway. So celebrate today or something. I don't know. But whatever things happen on interesting days like this. But so if you are just joining us for the first time for our salons, how we typically do things are we have our two or so presenters do their presentations. And over the course of that presentation, we ask that everyone be muted for the duration so that, you're not speaking over the presenter and, kind of rude. It happens. But and then after the presentation, which will last probably about 20 or so minutes, then we'll go into, or presentations rather, we'll go into a Q&A session discussion about what was presented. Also, glad to be back because I had to miss last time because I started a new job and my schedule did not permit it at that time. But I'm back and hopefully to stay. Might be a little sleepy though because I'm coming into this right after my shift. But I'll be here. I'll be here. So you can count on that if you missed my face or, whatever. All right, I'm being that weird person that makes himself laugh. Anyway, I guess we can go ahead and get on with things if everyone's ready to go. Our presenters ready? Seungjin and oh God, Dalton, you ready to go? And we'll kick things off with Seungjin. I'm saying that correctly, right?
Yeah, Seungjin, right.
Seungjin, okay, got it. All right, Seungjin, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you so much. First of all, I really appreciate today's participant, Giovanna. We know each other almost like years because I used to do like free art project in the New York local street and subway. What I did is like just give my artwork just free to people, like every day. It's concept like based on like what is art meaning in the like digital society like nowadays. Like you can see or buy like digital like artwork like even free or even pay like money like NFT. So I just want people saying like, so how about like real artwork is like free or not, like that kind of concept. And Giovanna saw my art things really years before, and she like invited me to this time the Techspressionism Salon. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm gonna start my presentation. So, all right. All right. So my name is Seungjin Lee, and I'm from South Korea. Actually born in South Korea, but also I spent almost half time of my lifetime in Japan. So almost like I have two mother languages, like Japanese and Korean. And like 7 years before I came to New York because like I just want to see, like because people say like really New York is good for do art things. So I want to see a more like world and also learn about English and want to meet people and have an experience through my artwork. So that's why I come to New York. So and as you can see, this is mural I did in almost 2 years before. Yeah, this is located in the Japan Premium Beef, the butcher shop in Manhattan, the NoHo area. Also, I work like in the part-time job, and this mural is all like images came from the like internet images. and I hand painted, and after that, like people like shot QR code over there from their phone, is like murals comes gonna AR. So you can see my presentation like after. All right. Oh, and this is me. Yeah, I just mentioned about I did like what is that? The event and performance show exhibition in local New York also, like such as Baby Castle, like Spaceman Six Gallery, like horror event house in Brooklyn, and of course like virtual events also that did I all right. And oh, so this is the AR image I just mentioned. Let's see, like this. When people use a phone, it's gonna be moving. So why I made this is basically my every artwork, not only this, every artwork is concept is like what is humanism and myself in nowadays digital technology era. So there is also reason like why I come to New York, like maybe I can, share this idea from my creation thing with the like many different diversity like around the world people in the New York, and we can share about like really global technology situation with the like human. So and this mural also like I want to say that kind of thing. Like I did like hand painting myself, but like paintings all came from like internet, other digital image somebody made. But still, I made like hand painting, and also like people can see your AR and like go inside their self in the like digital like AR like movie. So like there's a lot of layers inside, like analog, digital, that kind of thing. I just want this new murals, that kind of concept. And I also did doing painting thing. You can see the like backside I'm just doing right now. So, sorry, their sentence is wrong. Sorry, AR mural work on Japan. There is wrong. Sorry. Anyway, this painting series I call the glitch art. Glitch art, like white and black silhouettes. And how I'm making this is like splashing first on the canvas, and later I took a photo and scanning the digital like digital data, and then I like randomly like program like so trying to make a glitch, or like recently I started like making glitch programming by myself, like based on like you can put some sentence. Like for example, what I'm doing right now is like this works for ready the Korea art fair in this year, and I'm on this project like based on like Dante's Inferno, the comedy, and I choose some sentence in Infernos, and I put dead letters in my programming, and then making like programming glitches, and my splashing painting is gonna be that like mixed with the Dante's the sentence, and also but based on random program. So like I just try to explain like humanism history, myths, and also like digital random system, and also myself also do hand painting, so like mixed together with digital or also like humanism, like that kind of concept. So and I also did like performing shows. So for example, This one I did is in Hollow, Brooklyn, the live house, and like 3 years before, I used like screenshots from the internet and like play the music and with me and like just the same concept, like want people see myself in the like digital like mass information inside.
You can't say it like this, you say it like this because every...
This one also kind of concept, and this one I did last year in November, like in Brooklyn also, and that time I wear just some kind of like original wig, and I made myself from like digital cords, like earphones, like USB cable. It's me, and I also made my mask, like, and mask is also like image, like a glitched like mouse image, and then background is the live stream, just myself on the computer, and what I'm doing is recording myself, my face, and also like just open a lot of like screens on the internet, like YouTube, like Google search, and just making mess like internet images, but there is inside the media, so like loud, like widescreen background, and also in live performance, in entrance, I using some like Korean traditional like shamanism instruments, because like I want to bring some kind of like ghost in the like digital situation. So that also I'm doing. I mean, sometimes I'm doing like Korean shamanism, like based on like it's based in the like human soul and ghost someday in a digital, maybe internet or something, that kind of concept. This one is what I do in the background that time, and also this I did like virtual exhibition with my like artist friend, and I use the modular hub. You know guys, modular hub. Modular hubs is the virtual 3D like placemaker format from the Fox, the modular hub, modular Fox, and you can make like your virtual exhibition in their place. And what I did is like this. I'm gonna bring some my paintings. I put in the virtual space my hand paintings. So this is I call cell paintings. So how made these paintings is just put the paper and pen and trying to not thinking, like no idea or no purpose for painting. Just rely on everything to your body and like inside like system, and like pen starts making like this kind of like shapes. I noticed. So first time I noticed this skill, I have no idea why I did it, but I doing this kind of skill like years, and now I little bit like notice and like trying to make concept is like maybe this like shape is kind of like my cells inside, and like the cells why I explain is maybe it's connected to my desire like sexual thing, and also like my species things, also my humanism desire. So I think this is really my insight, like humanism, like my organization, like really analog organization thinking explains. So that's why I like sometimes trying to put this kind of painting in the virtual system. So like, yeah, digital analog, like opposite. So, yeah, oh, this one also like kind of things. And so I'm gonna start explaining about this called DigiAna Group. So DigiAna Group is my other like activities of my artworks, art movement. So DigiAna Group is my organizing like artist group, and like I gather artists who deals with century digital and analog media from around the world, and uh, I did a lot of events with them, and almost 3 years before. So for around 30 to 50 artists like joined, and uh, this month also we gonna do a like live stream event with 12 artists uh, from around the world. And even today's participants, the Tommy, also this time trying to join this time. Thank you so much, Tommy. This time. Yeah, we met in like months before the Techspressionism exhibition because Giovanna invited me there. So we meet together, and I asked Tommy like to join this. Yeah, and what we're gonna do is to like put the every like stream links every day, like, and per day per artist gonna show virtual like live stream or like exhibition every day. So we're gonna do that kind of like art fair. Yeah, and this is the video what we did.
Eyes with gold laughing lines, which still find new things to smile about. A Chrislu turn fiction page.
We get really snooty about it. You can't say it like this, you say it like this, because every country has its own way. Bad omens, they were right.
Is actually, contrary to popular belief, comprised of 18. This energy circling around, all this energy that you guys are bringing down here.
So explain about like this performance or like in brief. Some performance do the like how to say like video game perform, like it's called video game, but how he did is like playing role-playing game with the audience. So he asked to audience, there is monsters there. So like, how gonna do? Like, and ask to audience, and audience like answer like there's some options on the screen. So like just like throw the apple or whatever, like just run away, or like there's option. And like he decide that like every time the audience responds and make like screens next, that kind of like so I really love his concept, like is like digital and analog like game system, like real performance, like real original performance like thing. And also some artists did like coding like music performance, like make a music from the like live stream coding the same time in the performance. And other artists like use like random coding like poem reading, like some artists do, or like performance basis or like metamodernism concept. So like a lot of different artists, but that's everyone like almost same concept, like what is humanism and our self in the digital technology nowadays era. And this one also I did like with my friend, using virtual exhibition like fairs, like they set their own rooms and doing like stream shows. And this one also like live YouTube live stream event. We set like schedule, like for example, like oh this day like from 8 p.m. like Seungjin Lee gonna do a like live stream, and 8:20 like Melody is gonna do like 8:40 Fudu, like that, like so people can see like one by one live stream like the same time. Yeah, and this is some like introduce my like participants artist. Also, she name is Nicole Salmone. She is based on like metamodernism concept and art. She worked a lot of time with me, and her name is Melody. Melody also do all like coding like music things. And his name is Wamu. Wamu, we met on Instagram, and she put like really original Instagram, like a game character, but glitches with his like personal, like everyday experience, like recorded from video. So like dreamy, glitchy, like Instagram. And she's now like she's really good at creating also digital art in like Korea. So when I know her on internet, I just like contact her like, oh, we can do like some collaboration. And yeah, and this this month's event also she gonna do like collaboration. And her concept also like what is feminism and what is baby in the human in the digital like internet situation, like kind of like original concept is maybe babies can make in the internet or digital, that kind of thing. Yeah, so this is my website and DigiAna Group's website and Instagram. Yeah, so actually presentation I feel is like this, and what I like my next goal is of course this month I'm gonna do a like event with DigiAna Group, and also the next month DigiAna Group and the Culture Hub. The Culture Hub is the global art and technology like studying like the movement, the society, and we're gonna do a like collaboration event in the March soon. And now I'm thinking about is how me and my like surround artists can more make like support system for our creation, like for example like making NFTs and like make even little money or something like can make our like creative things more support. So this is our like my next visions. And yeah, and I'm really happy to know each other this time, Techspressionism. And yeah, I think I already did like 20 minutes, right? Almost. So I think this is all.
Yeah,
Should-
you're
Yeah.
good.
Good. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I'm really nervous. Like I can
you're
see you guys' face. So sorry.
no, you're fine. Your presentation was great.
Thank you.
You.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was awesome. And, feel free to bring your friends from DigiAna by.
Oh,
We could have a
yeah.
mixer,
Yeah.
and all, are welcome. It's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Seungjin. And with that, unlike previous loans, we're going to save all the questions and discussion till after the second presentation. So if they're like sitting or blaring in your mind, write them down somewhere so you don't forget, or you can put them in the chat and then I'll dig in and find them in the chat and we'll bring it back up. All right. And with that, I think Dalton, you're up.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dalton Portella, and I am speaking to you from Montauk, New York. I'll give you a little bit of my history. I was born in Miami of Brazilian parents, and when I was 12, my mother divorced my father, who was a violent alcoholic, and that was a really good thing, and took us down to Brazil, where I went to junior high and high school. And I loved to draw and paint as a kid. That was the one escape I had where it's like I could get out of my head, the ADD, everything. And decided I wanted to go to art school. And my mother said, fine, I can't pay for it, but go. So I left Brazil in '76 when I graduated from high school and went to California for a couple years. I'm a lifelong surfer, and so that's where I thought I'd be and end up. But the year before I left Brazil, I saw a photograph of Montauk, New York in a surf magazine and realized that New York actually has waves. So that became a possibility. Couple years after being in California, I studied art at United States International University, which was an overpriced private university, and every class I took, I got the same teacher. So I left there after a year, went up to Santa Cruz. There, I studied at a junior college, Cabrillo Community College, and I came across a wonderful teacher. His name was Howard Ikimoto, and 30 something years later, I had forgotten his name, and somebody came to a show I was having in Montauk, and I was telling them that I'd had this Japanese American teacher in Santa Cruz, and they're like, Howard Ikimoto. He influenced me greatly. But after 2 years in California, I got a cheap ticket that left from New York and came back to New York to go visit my mother in Brazil. So I drove across country with my roommate, went down to Brazil for a few months, came back to New York, was staying with friends and saving up to go back to California. But I decided to take a portfolio of drawings I had to Parsons School of Design. I thought I wanted to be an illustrator. And so I just without applying, I just made an appointment to see the dean. He accepted me on the spot. I said, I don't have any money. He goes, that's all right. Registration's on Monday. We'll give you a deferment. Here's the paperwork, put it through. There's no reason you won't get the financial aid. And I started taking classes. I got a job as a translator, and I moved in with a friend of mine in New York, and that pretty much all happened in the same day. And so that's how I ended up in New York. My roommate said he'd put through the paperwork. He didn't, and I went to re-register, and they're like, you never paid for your classes. And so I had to drop out of school. I hated the translating job, but this roommate that had forgotten to put through the paperwork was selling transparency retouching, and he goes, you should check this out. And so I went up to this studio, and there are all these artists leaning over these light boxes retouching transparency film, which is basically like this. And they were retouching, enhancing detail in National Geographic photos, underwater shots, and it was like really, really, it looked really cool. So I took a cut and pay for my translating job and started doing transparency retouching on film. It was like doing watercolors on on transparency film, and I actually dove in and got really good at it, and then heard about this computer coming along that was used to manipulate photography that you could paint with. And so I kind of saw the writing on the wall that like I was working in a dying industry, and I found a job with a company that had bought one of these computers. The computer, this was in 1988. The computer was a Quantel graphic paint box. It was a $750,000 computer that was used to retouch photography and film. And I went up and started, I got a job with a company that had bought one of these, and they had a traditional department. So I made friends with the artists that they had hired, and would go up at night and teach myself this computer by creating artwork on it. And I'm going to share my screen with you and start going through some images that I had started to create in 89, 90. The computer was proprietary. There was no metadata attached to the files you output. You output your files to a 9-track computer tape, which was huge. It was like, 12 inches across. And so we would output the to 9-track. They would take the 9-track, put it through an LVT machine, and make transparencies out of it. And that's what they would ship all over the country for the magazines to make their film separations and produce work. But I started outputting artwork on these transparencies. And now I'm rescanning them in so I can start offering them as NFTs. But it was a pretty dark period in my life. I'm going to start showing you work that I look back, and I was kind of in a hell at the time, struggling with substance abuse and alcoholism. And here, I'm going to share my screen and start. There we go. We'll start going through some stuff here. We're just going to start scrolling through work that this was probably created in 1990, maybe 91 or 2. I didn't have dates attached to a lot of these. This was actually partial. The figure in this was artwork I created for an industrial band called Chem Lab. And then I repurposed it and used it in my own artwork. And they had, the album was called Burnout at the Hydrogen Bar, and like their hit was Codeine, Glue, and You. I was working in the advertising world, feeling like I was trapped and in jail. And one of the things, when I started working on the paint box, I wanted to create organic feeling work that had my mark. So they were actually the first ones that came up with the pressure sensitive stylus, Quantel, the company, and ended up by suing Photoshop for stealing a lot of that technology, and they battled them for 7 years and then lost. And so these are some, when I heard the term Techspressionism, I felt like I belonged. It was like I was using this technology to express the pain I was in at the time. And occasionally some light would come in, angels, butterflies, married to my organic textures and feel. And I would paint in a series. I'm looking through stacks and stacks of transparencies I have, and I can't believe all the stuff I output at the time, but it all kind of varied on these textural themes. This is part of that one beforehand was this one here is there's a version of this series that's going to go into the show that Colin is putting together at Southampton Art Center. And I realized I don't have the original of that piece that we're putting in, so I only have it as a transparency, so that'll be scanned soon. This I was working on the very first image that Life magazine was going to use, and it was a story about the destruction of and the metamorphosis of Las Vegas, and I appropriated the work and gave it a Rauschenberg kind of feel and did that collage. Here we just playing with abstract colors and textures. There's another one of my moods. I'll show you some physical paintings I did, and I had this I was looking for a subject to focus on, and I stumbled across this little bird carcass, and that got included in a lot of my digital work. Dead birds in there too, and then, like I said, I wanted all of this work to have my mark, my hand mark, and elements of my drawing. What I found wonderful about working digitally is how I could quickly change the whole feel of a color composition and create these different versions. So these are all variations on that theme. Then I started incorporating photography into it. This is a model, a friend of mine that modeled, well, actually, she wasn't even modeling. We went down to Rockaway during a hurricane and she just stripped and went swimming. And a friend of mine had lent me his Hasselblad camera and I shot her. So we're just going to stroll through work here. That was a series I had done inspired by a few days tripping in Amsterdam. Started incorporating paper textures and drawing. We're back to that marble texture thing. This is a piece of a sculpture I did and photographed, and then took elements of that, included it in the background, and included the sculpture into it. This is a marriage of painting on wood with gravel with digital painting. There's Chuck. Here, I call this a surreal scape. Oh, this was the very first piece I minted as an NFT a few weeks ago, and it was the very first piece that sold within 24 hours. And now this is the self-portrait series that I put up there. So waiting for that to take off. These are, those self-portraits are up on OpenSea right now. So up until now, all of these are created on the paint box. Eventually, Max got fast enough, Photoshop came around, and I switched over, but we're still in. Now, this is one of the first pieces I have here in this folder of Photoshop. So I've switched over to Photoshop and started. So most of those are in Photoshop. I use the digital to compose things that later become oil paintings. And then I realized I like the digital files even better. Let me find the folder with the paintings on them. So that became that. Here are, it's part of this Ghost Ship series. This is an example of, I like this, the techniques to relate, or my style to come through, no matter what medium I'm in. So I just got some scans back from, here's one. So this was done early 90s, and this was an acrylic on canvas done a few years back. So we'll put these folders side by side, and this is, I just got the scan of this today. It was one of my early digital pieces that wasn't that dark. I called it a not so still life. And here's some pretty angels coming in. This is the not so still life, was an edition of, it was a series of 4 different pieces. And I actually had printed them on Cibachrome in early 90s, and this couple saw them at a show, came over, and ended up being my first digital sale in probably 91 or 92. They bought the whole series, and there's a self-portrait of me with a butterfly, being very happy. Again, here's the bird. Oh, I'll show you the oil paintings of the bird, or it should be in here somewhere. That's the same bird. So yeah, I've got this bird thing going on. Those are all oil paintings. And we'll go back to the digital over here. Early paint box abstraction. And I would take glitches from, we were working on some Good Housekeeping ad. You can see the logo in there in the middle, and it sometimes these files would get corrupted while reading them in, and I would use those glitches in the early artwork. One of my early self-portraits. For versions of Chuck. That was me feeling censored. Call this one another surreal scape. There he is again, working with textures and drawing digitally. And now more recently, I'll lift painting strokes from one painting and throw them on another. Combine it with my photography. And when I think of Techspressionism, I think of grabbing my paint strokes and then digitally manipulating them and creating shapes. Here I've lifted paint strokes from different paintings. You can see these same paint strokes on one of the other digital files. kind of has a Ross Bleckner feel to it for me. And that started out as just working out a composition for a painting, and then I ended up by liking this better than the painting. So there's a little bit of the show and tell. I actually also would like just put on some music in the background. I've been working on some. All right, so I think I'll open it up to questions and comments now.
All right, well, that was a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
A little insight into my brain.
We could see it, I think, very well. You know, there's one interesting part, like towards the end, where you actually put on the music. For quite a while now, I was always thinking about like whether or not it'd be appropriate to have like music in the background for some of these presentations, because you know it is very quiet unless you know you're speaking the entire time. But
Yeah.
The fact that you brought your own background music, that worked.
That was a piece of music I created over the last couple days. A friend of mine approached me and asked me if I would put something together for a 1 minute film, minute and 15-second film. So so I wrote that like yesterday and the day before.
It worked. It actually went along with your work very well.
They were late, I think. Yeah.
All right. So we do have some questions for you, or at least one question in the chat so far. From Cynthia. She wants to know, why do you scan images?
I'm scanning images that were output to transparency as a way to preserve them because I I didn't own a Mac. I was working on a proprietary system that the only way to output was to these 9-track tapes and transparencies. So my originals of my early digital work are 8x10 transparencies now, so that I'm having to rescan and bring in yeah, and digitize them again. So they've gone like back and forth. Yeah.
Great. How are you presenting these digital pieces?
Some I print, and some only exist now right here on the computer. So like when I started hearing about NFTs coming out, it's like finally I have a decent venue to showcase this work. You know, I remember when I first started making these, I showed galleries the transparencies, and they didn't know what to make of them. They didn't understand the digital art concept and weren't very open to it. So it's taken 30 something years for me to now like have a good venue to showcase them and sell them and share them with the world.
That sounds like a very common story among a lot of people here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Tommy actually has a question for both presenters today. What do you think about the idea of control in your work? So either Dalton or Seungjin.
What kind of control?
Tommy.
Can I unmute? I'm sorry. Hi. First of all, what fantastic work, both of you guys. It's like mind-blowing in really different but somehow similar ways. Maybe it's the tools and techniques. And I'm wondering, you both have like painting in your, well, sort of physical, you're both like using paint in some works and then also translating into digital, this sort of painterly gesture, if you will. And I'm wondering about, do you feel like there's a sense of control you're giving up in that translation or gaining? Maybe, you talk about cutting and pasting from a canvas, which sounds like, wow, cutting and pasting a brush stroke. Do you gain control by that conversion into digital?
One of the things I enjoy about working in digital is because there can be a lot of unpredicted outcomes. Like when I bring something in and then throw it through a curve or change the color, the layer style of it, and I like the unexpected in that. Where they're almost the same as like when I'm applying oil paint to a canvas and then just take a palette knife and swoosh it across and I get an unexpected blending of colors. I like that accident. I like that accident that also has some intention behind it, the hand movement, the mark. And that was one thing that Japanese American teacher I mentioned, he taught us about the importance of the mark. He would have models give us 5-second poses, give us a bucket of ink and a brush, and you would just try to capture her whole movement in one stroke. Yeah, so there's kind of a diving off of the cliff, lack of control there that I enjoy. Yeah.
And what about you, Seungjin?
You're muted. Unmute. Seungjin, unmute yourself.
Sorry. Thanks so much, Dalton, your wonderful story.
I loved yours too, and those pieces behind you is just yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much for Tommy. Great questioning. Actually, that question is very important for me. Like when I always question things. So how control, or is there no control in my like every painting is like basically maybe I can say my I'm trying to explain like not myself. Like it's weird, you know, like I use my body and like every hand, also my brain and every organism myself, but maybe I explain not myself is my kind of goal, maybe also using digital thing. Yeah, it's silly. Like I don't know, like it's kind of like looks like a Duchamp, like a like contemporary. You know, he brings us, you know, like toilet in the museum and like a ready-made. You know, like you don't need to make anything. Like kind, maybe kind of that like sympathy in my like my art creation thing. Maybe it's going, and it reminds me like one movie, the animation movie. I really like moved by that movie. It's named called Ghost in the Shell. Maybe some of you guys know. Actually, yeah, Ghost in the Shell is Japanese animation, and they have a lot of movie and series animation. And also, actually, my wife is Japanese, and how we meet is my wife introduced the Ghost in the Shell, the original manga, to me. Like anyway, in that movie is actually that movie sci-fi movie, like really like human technology is gonna really high in the future, and almost every human have a like computer brain, so people can hijack their brain like memory. And for example, like you have your family or friend in your memory, but one day some police came to me and he said your memory is everything wrong, you don't have family or you don't have friends. So he said some hijacker like take your memory, like put wrong memory in your brain. So that concept is really shocked to me, like when I first time see. So and that movie like say like so many questioning to viewer, like what is yourself and what is your memory and what is like just yourself in digital era, maybe it's fake or not. So it's really scary thing, but also I can imagine what is our next generation future in the art thing and our myself something. So like sorry, I don't want to mention one like long story, but like explain this painting is like kind of like this is hand painting everything, but actually like already like exactly same image I already made it in digital. So why I do or like also hand painting is actually this is really really boring. Really, there is no fun. Like I copy just hand painting like computer. There's really boring. Just but what I'm trying to think is maybe I want to be a like computer or digital thing or they kind of like yeah, I don't know, like just I'm trying to like make my experience with creation. But yeah, I hope this answer is really helpful to you guys.
Tommy approves.
So much listening.
All right, we actually have another question for you from the chat. So when you showed the butcher shop on Great Jones Street, you held up an iPhone to make it move. Is there an app to do this? So I guess they're asking about the AR.
Yeah, I'm gonna put chat the app name is the give me a second. Yeah, but I will put the app name on the chat, and you can check that app, and everyone can use that app. You know, once you put use an app, and you can have an account in the like online, and you can put every like image or like 3D image on every scanning image. But yeah, I'm gonna share you. Yeah.
All right. Got another resource to use. There's a lot of heavy app users in here. I know that. Some people, that's actually the majority of what they do. It's various apps working together to create all sorts of experiences. And I think a couple of people are definitely diving into AR work too.
What is AR? I need to. What is AR?
AR stands for augmented reality.
Ah.
So if you remember back to Seungjin's presentation, you saw how on his phone there was an interaction between the physical work and what was being displayed on the phone.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, that's AR.
Yeah, that's AR. Yeah, I just put on chat the app name. App name is Artivibe, so everyone can use this app in your.
Cool.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. We have any further questions in the chat? Oh, we got one from Colin.
I could just ask you. So Seungjin, I don't know if you are familiar with an artist named Joseph Beuys or the idea of social sculpture, but your DigiAna project reminded me of like what I've been working on in terms of, thinking about Techspressionism in that way is like, something like a project like this or what you're doing can actually be an art piece in the sense that it's a collaborative social sculpture, right, where people could contribute their own creative ideas or move it in a particular direction sort of independently. And I wanted to see, if you had thought about that at all, or if that resonates with you.
Actually, first of all, I'm really sorry about, maybe I need to study more about Joseph Beuys. Maybe I still don't know his concept like that so much. But I only know his name actually, but I'm right now looking his artwork in Google. Like, could you make
if you Google social sculpture, there's a Wikipedia page for it. And honestly, like I hadn't been that familiar with it. There's an artist, Joseph Nekvatal, who's he hasn't been to a salon, but he was one of the people that his interview is on the page on Techspressionism, and he was one of the people that influenced me early on as far as using technology in an expressive way. And his work, it's interesting how he talks about it because he almost pushes away the idea that the work has anything to do with technology. It's just sort of a given that's what's being used to create it, but it's not what the work is about in any way. It's about other things, so but he introduced me to this idea of social sculpture when I was working on another project that involved similar things like artists interviewing other artists and things like that. This was back in the 90s before there was broadband, so it was really not really the time. Everyone was on dial-up and there was no YouTube. It was real video. At any rate, it was kind of this. I see this as sort of the next iteration of that idea. But the idea of social sculpture, I think, as this project progresses, things just sort of happen, and that aspect of chance and so many multiple people being involved allows for interesting results. And a lot of times people have asked me, oh, are you going to trademark Techspressionism, or is that going to become a 501 c3 corporation, a not-for-profit organization? And like pretty much all of those things, I'm just like, no. And I think the further away it gets from those things, the more chance it has to grow into what I would like it to be, which is sort of the antithesis of that, whatever that is. I don't know.
The one thing that I think I like is, Beuys is one thing, and then the other one is Nicholas Borio, the idea of a relational aesthetics. In other words, basically with artists, basically bouncing off of each other, and then on the other hand is that artists basically trying to get closer to their audiences, and then basically going into a creative dialogue with them as well. And I think these things are really interesting. And this is kind of like the next step after Beuys. And that really kind of became kind of big in the 1990s. And, I think we have a lot of that here too.
Interesting. Is there a particular reading you could recommend for that?
The Boreo's book, Relational Aesthetics.
Well, there you go.
All right. I'll add it to my reading list.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but my reading list is kind of long at this point.
So is mine. It's the books I wish I
Right,
someday have
it's-
time to read.
And it just keeps growing. And it's like, oh yeah, you should totally read this book. It's like, I'm interested in that, but where's the time? It's not a bad problem to have. It's just, man, so many books. All right.
We actually do have a reading list page on
Yeah.
techspressionism.com, or I think it's now maybe at the bottom of the manifesto page. But if anyone does have suggestions for that of books to add, I'm happy to make those edits and put them up there. Or, if anyone in here is a writer and wants me to add your text to it, send me a link to that too. Davo.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Patrick, I think your book's on there already.
That reminds me, I need to finish up the other iterations for my poems. I think I might actually finish those up once I actually get an iPad, because I've been holding off for a minute. But
It's
we'll
a
see how
great
that
book.
goes. Oh, my poems, my first book.
Yes.
Which book's up there? My theory one or my science fiction one? The science fiction one is hard to read.
Pretty sure it's the theory one. Let me
Yeah,
just
it's probably
see.
easier to read.
It was its own separate page, but I'm pretty sure I moved that
great.
material to the manifesto page at the bottom.
Oh, so we had slight discussion about a movement called Techism from Krista Kim was the founder. I've personally never heard of her. Diana, did you want to say a little bit about that or share a little
I
bit?
was doing a bit of research and thinking about Techspressionism and talking about it. And I don't know how I stumbled upon it, but Krista Kim,
Yeah.
KristaKimStudio.com, founder of the Techism movement and creator of the Mars House. Light is the new ink. So she's on Super Rare. So she started to blend kind of technical with NFT. I had wondered if Colin, I'd never heard of it, but you mentioned the copyright. She's copyrighted Techism. So
Gotcha. Well, copyright is inherent. I mean, basically,
but she made sure to put it up there.
we follow each other on Twitter. I don't know her personally, but I saw that something about Techism a while ago, but I don't know that it's really too active.
She sold a piece for $500,000.
What?
I didn't see that. Was that the
Mars
Louis?
House?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, creator of the Mars.
Yeah, bravo.
Yeah, good on her.
Absolutely.
Always nice to see an artist not starving. It's always a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about like trademarking, and I've registered marks before. You could just go to uspto.gov and file a form. I did that for my business name, but I feel like and my goal personally with this project is to bring the term into common usage. So things like that are trademarked. Like Kleenex, for instance, it became a word, but I think it's a tougher road for trademark terms to actually be brought into common usage outside of commercial usage. That being said, if someone went and trademarked it and opened up the Techspressionism gallery or the Techspressionism magazine, good. That's going to help propel it into common usage as far as I'm concerned. Let someone else do the work, and if they want to earn money off of it, that's cool too. I did register the domain name variants, the ones that I thought were worthwhile, but other than that, I don't know. I feel like we did get it into Urban Dictionary now, maybe and Wiktionary. There's a pending stub. Patrick.
Cool, cool, cool.
So hopefully, you know, we're moving forward with it, and it seems like there's I have a Google alert set up for Techspressionism and Techspressionist, and I'm
Me too,
definitely getting
actually.
daily pings. Yeah, usually it's like posts using the hashtag, but that's definitely, it seems like, you know, the hashtag model has been what, you know, really has grown at least the artist index. That's how I started finding the original people. Davo, you know, was one of the very first people, and I wasn't searching on the hashtag Techspressionism. I was searching on hashtags like digital art, and finding people like, oh, that like really feels like it's Techspressionism, and then message Davo, hey, what do you think about this idea? You know what I mean? And then it kind of went on from there with basically almost everyone in the artist index at this point have at least had some back and forth over DMs on Instagram with, which is like kind of frightening. It's a wonder that I'm still married at this point.
Who are those other women you're talking to, Colin?
The amount of time I spend on this is kind of been very probably borders on addiction, but it's not so out of character.
It's a healthy addiction, right? Because it's productive.
I'm powerless over Techspressionism. My life has become unmanageable.
Oh,
no. Oh, Holly, you have something to share? Oh, you're on mute, by the way.
I'm good. Okay, so I keep comparing it. I keep thinking that way back when Impressionism was first coined, that wasn't trademarked or copywritten or anything. And it took 20 or 30 years and it evolved into an organic art movement. And I think it's kind of neat that we're part of this process. And okay, so my book is Parallel Perspectives, the Brush Lens Collaboration, and that's where my photoliminalism finally took name, because I was doing all of this stuff since 1999 digitally. And just like Dalton said, when he found this Techspressionist group, it's like he found grounding. And for, I don't know, almost 20, 30 years, I've just kind of been floating. And somebody had suggested to me that I come up with a term, and art has so many isms, and liminal is transitional time. And what I was doing with my photography was transitional, because technology was changing photography as we know it. So it just evolved into photoliminalism, which is at home in being a Techspressionist.
But I mean, if you think about like the early movements and such, you know, like the expressionists, and I'd say more expressionists, Dadaists, surrealists, and so on, is that, I mean, on one hand, they weren't necessarily looking for they were looking to transform society. They're like the surrealists were trying to, basically try to dig deep into the subconscious and that sort of thing, to get at like the true nature of humanity. And then the first expressionists, like the Blau Reiter and the Brucke, were basically trying to use the expression of pure motion to try to transform human beings into a new world. It's like that's the bridge to Brucke and that sort of thing. So the one thing is that the 20th century avant-garde was looking to, wasn't necessarily looking to trademark anything. They were looking to transform society, through the use of radical movements and that sort of thing. And that's an interesting thing to contrast, versus today.
Do we have such grandiose aspirations?
Not as much these days. I know they kind of say in the contemporary, that what was it? It was what was it? Arthur Danto, it's kind of the Arthur Danto's thing is like is art dead, and that sort of thing. Basically, it's all provocative conversation, but I mean, it's just the idea of saying is the notion Arthur Danto was kind of talking about is the notion of the movement as such as a transformative, social structure is, has it gone to the wayside? And yes, no, it's things are different these days.
It's not gone, it's just different.
Things are different these days.
Yeah. All right, we're actually getting pretty close to the end, but I did actually have one question for Dalton. It's kind of an aside that I remembered something with my early work that I was doing that I didn't really post around a lot, but I remember there was a time that I showed my then girlfriend, now wife, some of my artwork, and her first response, because it was very emotive, very emotional, had a lot of me going on in it. And during that time, it was a fairly dark period of my life. So it looked very dark. Like it was kind of, I guess, it tugged at you in a not so positive way. And I was told, it's like, hey, you should make things that are happier looking. So did you ever like get that response during your the course of the development of your art or things like that?
I got lots of comments that it was dark, but there seemed to be hope in there somewhere. And I think that I have gotten that response from galleries out here. Well, one in particular, she kept asking me to be brighter, go brighter, go brighter. And I want to, I'll show you the piece later that I did in response to that. I found a deer that had been smashed by a train on the train tracks, and did a piece of art that was all black with this deer in it. And I'm like, there you go. That's me being brighter. But I have my moments where even I get tired of looking at my dark. It's like, and I want to be brighter. And
I had no idea, Dalton, because I remember your work. To me, when I initially was thinking about your work, I remember the show I went to of your paintings in Montauk, and it was a lot of like very loose watercolors with like sharks, and they're really cool pieces, but totally like a whole other body of work that and then you showed me these and I was like, wow, like that's a whole other side of your practice that I had never
I've had
even
moments where
any idea.
I did consciously go with a whole that shark series was all white backgrounds, and I hadn't been doing watercolors for a while, and I found those I wanted to focus on a subject matter that I thought was beautiful, but also would have some relevance and in terms of like what's going on with them. They're being overfished and decimated, but I did them in a graceful way that was very bright.
I love those in the drips coming off of them too. I just posted a link to those ones. Very different, but really nicely painted, I think.
Thank you, Colin. Thanks. I was I'm obviously a little ADD, and I have a lot of different emotions to express, and
know that feeling.
Kind of blessed that I also have like very different mediums with which to express these things, and it just keeps it interesting.
Right, I'm right there with you actually.
I
might not have as many diverse mediums, but if anybody has seen like my journey as an artist so far, they're like, those all came from the same person. It's like,
when I first started showing, I was living in the city, and I used to see the Washington Square outdoor art exhibit, which was like took over the whole village, and there was like always this huge variety of artists. And so I applied, I got accepted, and I set up a booth, and I had all of these works in there. And this woman comes walking by my booth, and she goes, "How many different artists are showing in this booth?" And I'm like, "Just me."
But clearly, you're multiple artists in one. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I think we are right here. We are at the end. I think we have what? Because we were supposed to end at 7 now, right? Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So we got 4-ish minutes left. Did anybody have any like last questions for Dalton or Seungjin?
I just wanted to say before the recording stops, if anybody would like to present in 2 weeks who is in the room, let me know after the meeting closes. We do have one artist booked, but there's one slot open. So that'll be on the 16th.
So I just have a quick question, and maybe we can talk about this later on Facebook. But I used to use Erasma for AR, and then it got phased out. And when I looked into ArtVive and some of the other options, they were way too expensive for what I wanted to do, which is because I wanted multiple hotspots. And when I looked into Ario, it wanted everything 3-dimensional. Which I know I could do a workaround and put on plane. So you could make a plane and then project on it. I said that kind of quickly, but I would be interested in finding out what people are, alternatives for AR. And if people
I think Michael Price uses something called Art Lupa. Is that it?
I think that sounds right.
And the only drawback on Arrow is it just doesn't support video, and then Vuforia is still pretty strong under Unity. And what is it? Tamiko Teal has who I was part of Manifest AR back in 2010. She her and her partner have published an open source AR toolkit and that sort of thing. So yeah. So
well,
anyway.
I'll put this on Facebook, and if people have all this information to share, I think it would be interesting, because I'm happy right now to step back from the AR for a while. It got to be too much.
Yeah.
But it was good to see that it's still being used. Well, I had to listen. I have to go back and see the video, but it was good. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Cynthia. All right, folks, I think that's about it. After our recording ends, there will be, I guess, if anybody still wants to, I'm not sure times, but yeah, the after party, post presentation discussion time where we just hang out and talk and whatnot. Always happens. Should still happen. But I just want to thank you all for attending. Thank you for your participation. And again, one last thank you for our presenters, Dalton and Seungjin, today. So thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thanks for all the great comments too.
And thank you, Davo, for your service, moderating as always. Glad to have you back. I did not, I moderated last time, but begrudgingly. So I'm much happier for you to moderate. No, hey, you know what? Bill's got to get paid, dude. So I hear you. But always appreciated, and definitely big ups to the two artist presenters.
I'm glad we're on this now. I'm glad we're on this schedule now. So.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much once again.
Diana, she just DM'd me.
Oh.
So you're on. We got a second presenter. It's closed up for next time. So that's sweet.
There you have it. All right, folks. I'm going to count us down. So we're signing out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.